The USB drive felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in Serena Hayes' pocket. She stood in Lim Jae-Hyun's private office, floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing Seoul's glittering skyline, art worth millions on the walls, and a man who'd ordered people killed sitting behind a desk that probably cost more than her Kingston apartment. He was reviewing contracts, his expression focused and calm, completely unaware that his trusted assistant of 6 months had just downloaded every file from his private server. Evidence. Proof. Everything she needed to expose the Hwaran Clan's operations and cement her reputation as one of the best investigative journalists in the Caribbean. All she had to do was walk out of this office, get on a plane, and never look back. "Serena," Jae-Hyun said without looking up from his paperwork, "you've been standing there for 3 minutes. Either you have something to say or you're admiring the view. Which is it?" His English was perfect, barely accented. 6 months of working beside him, and Serena still got butterflies when he said her name. "I was just thinking," she managed. "Dangerous activity." Now he looked up, and those dark eyes that saw too much fixed on her with the intensity that made her pulse race. "What were you thinking about?" "About how I've been lying to you for 6 months, about how I'm going to destroy you, about how I'm pregnant with your child and you don't even know." "Just work," she lied. "The Singapore deal. I was wondering if—" "The Singapore deal is handled. What I'm wondering is why my usually composed assistant looks like she's about to either run or throw up. Are you feeling all right?" "I'm fine." Liar. But his tone was gentle, concerned. He stood, moving around the desk with that predatory grace that reminded her exactly what he was beneath the expensive suits and cultured manners. "Serena, in 6 months you've never once looked uncomfortable in this office. So either tell me what's wrong, or I'll assume it's something I need to worry about." The threat was implicit. In Jae-Hyun's world, things he worried about tended to disappear. Before we go further, hit like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next. But it actually began 7 months earlier. Serena had been in her Kingston apartment, editing an article about political corruption, when her editor, Marcus, called. "I have an assignment for you. Big. Career-making big." "I'm listening." "Lim Jae-Hyun, head of the Hwaran Clan in Seoul. He's been expanding operations into the Caribbean, specifically Jamaica, Trinidad, and Barbados. Drug trafficking, money laundering, probably human trafficking, though we can't prove it yet. Intelligence says he's planning to use Caribbean ports as entry points for Asian narcotics into the Americas." Serena sat up straighter. "And you want me to write about it?" "I want you to investigate it. From the inside. We've been contacted by someone in Korean intelligence who wants Jae-Hyun exposed, but can't do it officially. They're willing to create a false identity for you, get you hired as his personal assistant, give you access to everything. You gather evidence, we publish, and you become the journalist who took down an international crime lord. That's insane and dangerous. It's also the story of a lifetime. Your byline on this would open doors everywhere. New York Times, BBC, CNN. You'd never work for a regional paper again." Marcus paused. "But Serena, I need to be clear. This man is dangerous. People who cross him don't just lose their jobs. They disappear. If you do this, you're risking your life." "Then I better not get caught." 2 weeks later, Serena was on a plane to Seoul with a new identity. Serena Campbell, British Jamaican business graduate with impeccable credentials, all fake, impeccable references, all fabricated, and a background so clean it was suspicious if you looked too closely. But according to her Korean intelligence contact, a man named Park who communicated only through encrypted messages, Jae-Hyun wouldn't look that closely. He was expanding his legitimate business fronts and needed an assistant who could handle international operations. He prefers hiring foreigners for certain positions, Park had explained in their one face-to-face meeting. Less likely to have connections to his rivals, less likely to be plants from Korean authorities. You're perfect, foreign, educated, no obvious ties to law enforcement. What if he checks my background more thoroughly? We've built it to withstand scrutiny. But Serena, understand this. Lim Jae-Hyun is brilliant. If you make a mistake, if you slip up even once, he'll know. And then we can't protect you. You'll be on your own in his world, and that's not somewhere you want to be alone. The interview had been in Jae-Hyun's office, the same office where Serena now stood with stolen data burning in her pocket. He'd been exactly what she expected. Cold, assessing, asking questions designed to trap liars. And Serena, trained to read people, had lied flawlessly. Why do you want to work for me, Miss Campbell? Because you're building something impressive. Legitimate businesses backed by obviously significant capital. I want to be part of something that's expanding internationally. You realize my reputation is complicated. There are rumors about my business practices. I'm not interested in rumors. I'm interested in results. And your results speak for themselves. He'd smiled then, sharp, dangerous, and somehow magnetic. You're either very brave or very stupid. Which is it? I'm practical. You pay well, you treat your employees well from what I've researched, and I need the money. Everything else is none of my business. I like that attitude. You're hired. Just like that, Serena was inside the Hwaran Clan's operations. And for the first month, everything went according to plan. She managed Jae-Hyun's schedule, handled his correspondence, sat in on meetings where men discussed business deals that were obviously fronts for criminal enterprises. She documented everything, sent encrypted reports to Park, and prepared for the day she'd have enough evidence to publish. The problem started in month 2 when she realized Jae-Hyun wasn't what she'd expected. Yes, he was a crime boss. Yes, he ordered things done that were probably violent and definitely illegal. But he also ran a scholarship program for underprivileged Korean youth that had put hundreds of kids through university, employed exclusively former criminals in his legitimate businesses, giving them second chances when no one else would, had a strict code about human trafficking. Anyone in his organization caught participating was expelled and often turned over to authorities, spent his evenings reading philosophy and his weekends volunteering at a soup kitchen under a fake name. You're not what I expected, Serena had said one evening when they were working late. What did you expect? Someone more stereotypically criminal? Flashy cars, aggressive behavior, intimidation? Those things are for people who don't understand power. Real power is quiet. It doesn't need to shout. He'd looked at her then with those eyes that seemed to see through her carefully constructed lies. Though I suspect you understand that. You're not what you seem either, Serena Campbell. Her heart had stopped. What do you mean? You're too intelligent for this job, too perceptive. Most assistants do what they're told and go home. You ask questions, you notice things. You're either ambitious or you're something else entirely. I'm curious, is that a crime? In my world, sometimes. But he'd smiled. Though in your case, I find it refreshing. Most people are afraid of me. You're not. Should I be? Probably. But I'm glad you're not. That had been the beginning. The moment when their professional relationship started becoming something else. Something dangerous and inevitable, and absolutely not part of Serena's plan. By month 3, they were having dinners together after work. Conversations that lasted hours, ranging from philosophy to music to their vastly different childhoods. His in Seoul's criminal underworld, hers in Kingston's working-class neighborhoods. Tell me about Jamaica, he'd said one evening over Korean barbecue. What do you want to know? Everything. What it's like, what you miss, what made you leave. So Serena had told him, carefully editing to fit her cover story, but letting real memories bleed through. The beaches, the music, her mother's cooking, the community that had raised her. the poverty that had driven her to seek opportunities elsewhere, the dreams of something bigger. "You're homesick," Jae-Hyun observed. "Always. Jamaica is in my blood. You can take the girl out of Kingston, but you can't take Kingston out of the girl. Then why stay here? Why work for someone like me?" "Because the money means I can eventually go back and not struggle. Because this opportunity, dangerous as it might be, is better than anything I'd find back home right now." She'd met his eyes. "And because I'm starting to think my boss isn't as terrible as his reputation suggests." "Don't romanticize me, Serena. I've done terrible things. Things that would make you run if you knew the details." "Then don't tell me the details. Let me keep my illusions a little longer." "That's cowardice. That's survival." He'd laughed, and the sound had done something dangerous to her heart. Month 4 was when everything changed. They were leaving a business dinner, legitimate investors, nothing criminal, when 3 men attacked them in the parking garage. Guns, knives, moving with professional precision that spoke of rival gang retaliation. Jae-Hyun had moved like violence personified. Serena had never seen anything like it. He took down 2 men before she could scream, his movements economical and brutal. But the 3rd man got a shot off, and Jae-Hyun went down, blood blooming across his shoulder. "Run!" he'd shouted at Serena. Instead, she'd grabbed a tire iron from a nearby car and hit the 3rd attacker hard enough to make him drop his gun. Then she'd dragged Jae-Hyun to his car, driven him to a private clinic, because of course he had a private clinic, and stayed while doctors stitched him up. "You should have run," he said after, his voice weak from blood loss and pain medication. "You're my boss. I wasn't leaving you to bleed out." "I'm a crime boss, Serena. Your boss is a man who orders people killed. You should have let me die and found a normal job." "Too late. I'm already attached to this terrible job and this infuriating boss." He'd pulled her down for a kiss then. Desperate, grateful, inevitable. And Serena had kissed him back, forgetting about her mission, her cover, her entire purpose for being in Seoul. Just feeling for one moment like herself, instead of the lie she'd been living. "This is a mistake," she'd whispered against his lips. "The best ones usually are." That night, in his private penthouse while he recovered, Serena had crossed every professional boundary. Had let herself be Serena Hayes from Kingston instead of Serena Campbell the spy. Had given herself to the man she was supposed to be destroying. And it had been perfect and terrible, and the beginning of the end. Month 5 was when she realized she loved him. Not the crime boss. Not the dangerous man who did terrible things. But Jae-Hyun, the person beneath all of it. The man who read poetry in 3 languages, who remembered how she took her coffee, who listened when she talked about missing Jamaica, who treated her like an equal instead of an employee, who made her laugh and challenged her thinking and protected her fiercely. "I need to tell you something," she'd said one night. "I'm listening. I'm a journalist. I'm here to expose you. Everything about me is a lie." But the words wouldn't come, because saying them meant losing him, and Serena wasn't ready to lose him. "Never mind. It's not important." "Serena, if you have secrets, tell me now. I can protect you from almost anything, but I can't protect you from lies I don't know about." "I don't have secrets." The lie had tasted like ash. Month 6 brought the pregnancy. Serena had missed her period, taken 3 tests, and stared at the positive results with her heart in her throat. Pregnant, with Jae-Hyun's child, while undercover, while preparing to betray him. She'd considered abortion, considered running back to Jamaica, considered telling him everything and hoping he'd forgive her. Instead, she'd done what she'd been trained to do. She'd pushed forward with the mission, downloaded files from his server, documented evidence, prepared to break the story that would destroy him. Because what else could she do? Keep the baby and watch the father go to prison? Quit journalism and become a crime boss's girlfriend? There was no good option, only varying degrees of catastrophic. So she'd chosen her career, chosen the story, chosen betrayal. And now, standing in his office with the USB drive in her pocket and his baby growing inside her, Serena Hayes felt like the worst person alive. Serena. Jae-Hyun's voice pulled her back to the present. He was close now, close enough to touch. You've been distant for 2 weeks. If I've done something wrong, tell me. If you're afraid of something, tell me. If you want to leave, tell me. Just stop lying to me. I'm not lying. You are. I can see it in your eyes. Every time I touch you, every time we talk, you look guilty. Like you're hiding something. His hand came up to cup her face. Are you afraid of me? Of this? He gestured between them. Because Serena, what we have, it's real for me. Maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it's unprofessional and complicated, but it is. You're the first person in years who's made me feel human instead of monstrous. If you don't feel the same, that's fine. But tell me. Don't just disappear. Tears burned Serena's eyes. I do feel the same. That's the problem. Why is that a problem? Because everything about this is impossible. You're my boss. You're a crime boss I'm supposed to expose. Complicated. Your world is dangerous. I can't do this, Jae-Hyun. I can't keep pretending we have a future when I know we don't. Why don't we? Because I'm not who you think I am. The words hung between them, heavy with implications. Jae-Hyun's expression shifted, confusion giving way to something colder. What do you mean? This was it, the moment of truth. Serena could lie again, could bury it deeper, could keep playing the role until she was safely out of Korea. Or she could be honest, face the consequences, and hope he didn't kill her. My name isn't Serena Campbell. It's Serena Hayes. I'm not a business graduate. I'm an investigative journalist from Kingston, and I've been working undercover for the past 6 months to expose your organization. The silence that followed was deafening. Jae-Hyun stepped back like she'd slapped him. His expression cycled through shock, hurt, and finally settled on a cold rage that made Serena's blood freeze. You're a journalist. Yes. Everything, our conversations, the dinners, the relationship, all of it was part of your investigation. At first, yes, but Jae-Hyun, I fell in love with you. That part was real. That part was part of the lie. His voice could have cut glass. You seduced me to get access. You pretended to care to gather evidence. And now you're what? Feeling guilty? Having second thoughts? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain to me how this isn't exactly what it looks like. A spy in my organization. In my bed. In my life. How long were you planning to wait before you destroyed me? When were you going to disappear and publish your story? I don't know. I was trying to figure out how to minimize the damage, how to betray me gently. He laughed bitterly. There's no gentle betrayal, Serena. There's just betrayal. I'm sorry. God, Jae-Hyun, I'm so sorry. I know this doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was exposing a monster, but you're not. You're complicated and morally gray, but you're not the villain I was told you were. And I love you. That's real. That's the truest thing I've ever felt. You love me. He said it like the words tasted wrong. But you are still going to publish, still going to expose everything, still going to destroy me and everyone who depends on me for survival. That's not love, Serena. That's betrayal dressed in prettier words. I know it is, but I also know I can't keep lying. I can't keep pretending. I had to tell you the truth. Why? Guilt? Last-minute morality? Or did you already send the files and you're trying to soften the blow before I find out? I haven't sent anything. The files are… She pulled the USB drive from her pocket. Here, everything I gathered. 6 months of evidence. I was going to leave today. Get on a plane, publish the story, never look back. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't betray you. Not after everything. Not when I love you this much. She held out the drive, and Jae-Hyun stared at it like it was a live grenade. You're giving me the evidence. Yes. Why? This is your career, your story of a lifetime. Why give it to me? Because it's blood money. Because I earned it by lying to someone I love. Because I'd rather lose my career than lose you. Tears streamed down Serena's face now. I know you'll never forgive me. I know this ends everything between us. But Jae-Hyun, please believe me when I say, I fell in love with you. Really, truly fell in love. And that means more than any story. He took the USB drive, his hand steady despite the emotion warring in his expression. Get out. What? Get out of this office. Out of this building. Out of Korea. I'll give you a 12-hour head start before I decide what to do with this information and with you. Use it wisely. Jae-Hyun, I said get out, before I change my mind about letting you leave. Serena wanted to argue, to beg, to make him understand. But his eyes were cold and final, and she recognized when a man was hanging on by a thread. I'm pregnant, she blurted, with your child. I found out 3 weeks ago, and I've been trying to figure out what to do. I know it doesn't change anything, but you deserve to know. You're going to be a father. Jae-Hyun's face went white. You're lying. I'm not. I can prove it. Medical records, test results. Stop. Just stop. He turned away from her, gripping the edge of his desk. Get out, Serena. Get out before I do something we'll both regret. She ran. Serena made it to her apartment, threw her belongings into a suitcase, and booked the first flight to Kingston. 12 hours. She had 12 hours before Jae-Hyun decided whether to kill her, sue her, or just let her disappear. She chose disappear. At the airport, Serena checked in for her flight, got through security, and sat at the gate with her hand on her still flat stomach. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered. I'm sorry your father is never going to know you. I'm sorry I ruined everything before you were even born. Flight 427 to Kingston now boarding all passengers. Serena stood, grabbed her carry-on, and headed for the gate. 1 step, 2, 3. Almost there. Almost free. Almost… Miss Hayes. The voice came from behind her, and Serena turned to find 2 of Jae-Hyun's security team standing there. Large men who looked capable of violence. Mr. Lim would like to speak with you. Please come with us. I'm getting on a plane. No, ma'am. You're coming with us. Mr. Lim was very clear. Serena could scream, could run, could make a scene and hope airport security intervened, but these men worked for Jae-Hyun, and that meant they had connections. She'd be on a plane to nowhere good if she fought. Fine, she said quietly. Let's go. They brought her to Jae-Hyun's penthouse, the private residence she'd only been to a handful of times. He was standing by the windows, still in his suit from earlier, holding a glass of whiskey and staring at Seoul's lights like they held answers. You're supposed to be halfway to Jamaica by now, he said without turning around. Your men stopped me at the airport. Because I changed my mind about letting you go. Now he turned, and the expression on his face was complicated. Anger and hurt and something else Serena couldn't identify. You're pregnant, with my child, and you were going to leave Korea without telling me anything beyond that one sentence. Did you really think I'd just let you disappear with my son or daughter? I thought you'd want me gone, after what I did. What you did was unforgivable. But it's also human. You came here for a story, found something complicated, and couldn't reconcile. Your mission with your feelings. He set down his glass. I'm furious with you, Serena. I might stay furious for years. But I'm not going to let you raise my child alone halfway around the world while I pretend you don't exist. What are you saying? I'm saying we figure this out. Together. You stay in Seoul, we have this baby, and we navigate the impossible mess we've created. He moved closer. I read your files. All of them. Every report you sent to your intelligence contact. Every piece of evidence you gathered. And you know what I noticed? What? You went soft after month 4. Started leaving things out. Started protecting me even while pretending to expose me. The files you have? They're damning, but they're also incomplete. You could have destroyed me completely, but you didn't. You held back. Because I love you. And I love you, which is why this is so complicated. His hand came up to rest on her still flat stomach. We're having a baby. My child is growing inside the woman who was sent to destroy me. How do we navigate that? I don't know. But Jae-Hyun, I meant what I said. I won't publish. I won't expose you. The story is dead. My career is probably over, but I don't care. I choose you. And what about your integrity? Your journalism ethics? You can just turn that off? For you? For our child? Yes, I can. He pulled her close, and Serena let herself sink into the embrace, even knowing she probably didn't deserve it. I don't forgive you, he whispered against her hair. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. But I'm not letting you go either. We're going to figure this out. Have this baby. Build something from the wreckage. And Serena, if you ever lie to me again, if you ever betray me again, I won't be this merciful. I won't. I promise. No more lies. We'll see. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a happy ending. But it was a beginning. Messy, complicated, and built on ashes and betrayal. Just like everything else in Jae-Hyun's world. Epilogue. 1 year later, their daughter was born on a Tuesday morning in Seoul's best private hospital. Tiny, perfect, with Serena's complexion and Jae-Hyun's eyes. They named her Nia, Jamaican for purpose, because she'd given them both one. Serena had left journalism, not because Jae-Hyun demanded it, but because she couldn't reconcile it with loving him. Instead, she'd started a nonprofit helping trafficking victims, using Jae-Hyun's resources and connections to actually help people, instead of just writing about them. You're doing more good this way than you ever did with stories, Jae-Hyun had said when she'd pitched the idea. That's because I have a crime boss funding my operation. Reformed crime boss. I'm mostly legitimate now. Mostly doesn't count. It does in my world. They'd gotten married in a small ceremony. Her mother flew in from Jamaica, his family came from Seoul, and they'd promised each other honesty and partnership, even knowing it would be complicated. Because loving Lim Jae-Hyun was complicated. He still operated in gray areas Serena didn't always approve of. Still made decisions that made her question her choices. Still was the kind of man who kept secrets and ordered terrible things when necessary. But he was also the man who woke up 3 times a night to help with Nia, who learned to cook Jamaican food so Serena wouldn't be homesick, who'd gone mostly legitimate because his wife and daughter deserved a father who wasn't constantly risking prison. Do you regret it? Serena asked one evening while Nia slept and they shared wine on their balcony. Letting me stay, forgiving me, building this life. Every day, he admitted. And then I look at Nia, or I look at you, and I remember why I chose this, why I chose you. Even though I betrayed you. Even though, because Serena, you also chose me. When you could have published and destroyed me, you gave me the files instead. When you could have run to Jamaica and raised our daughter alone, you stayed and faced consequences. That takes courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing. He pulled her close. I love you. Still. Always. Despite everything. I love you too. My reformed crime boss. My complicated husband. My daughter's father. That's a lot of titles. You earned them all. And in Seoul, far from Kingston and the life Serena had planned, she realized that sometimes the best stories weren't the ones you published. They were the ones you lived. Messy, morally complicated, built on mistakes and redemption and love that survived even betrayal. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For not killing me when you found out. The night's still young. Jae-Hyun? I'm kidding, mostly. Mostly doesn't count. In my world, it's all that counts. And as Nia cried from her nursery and they both went to comfort her, Serena thought about the article she'd never written, the career she'd abandoned, and the love she'd found in the most impossible place. Worth it. All of it. Every complicated, dangerous, beautiful moment. The end. Could you fall in love with someone you were sent to betray? Would you have published or walked away? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe now. The next undercover romance is even more dangerous.